you need to stop what you're doing right now. Because what just happened in Hollywood is not just gossip. It's not just shade. It's not just another celebrity breakup resurfacing. This is a full-blown emotional explosion that just dragged half the industry into it. We're talking about Future stepping back into a situation people thought was dead, buried, and completely over, and lighting it on fire again. Right after Michael B. Jordan had the biggest night of his entire life. An Oscar win. A career-defining moment. A moment that was supposed to be untouchable, celebratory, historic. But instead, it turned into the trigger. Because within hours, literally hours, of that win, posts started surfacing. Lyrics started getting recirculated, old clips came back to life, and right in the center of it all, Lori Harvey. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because people weren't just congratulating Michael, they were dragging Lori, relentlessly, calling her the one who fumbled, saying she walked away from greatness, saying she didn't recognize the prize. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, that's when Future entered the chat. Not directly, not clearly, but in the most dangerous way possible. Subtle, calculated, and absolutely devastating. Because according to insiders, yes, people close enough to see what's really happening, Future allegedly started reacting behind the scenes first. Laughing, commenting, revisiting conversations that were supposed to stay private. And then, the posts. Cryptic captions, old lyrics, moments that felt random, until you realized they weren't. They were aimed, and everyone knew exactly who the target was. Or now suddenly, the narrative flipped. This wasn't just about an Oscar anymore. This was about regret, about timing, about choices that can't be undone. And if that wasn't enough, that's when the leaks started. Messages, unverified, but way too specific to ignore. Allegedly showing attempts to reconnect. Allegedly showing calls that were never answered. Allegedly showing a story that looks very different from what the public thought they knew. And here's the part that has everybody spiraling. Because if even a fraction of this is true, then while the world was celebrating Michael's rise, someone else was watching it, realizing what they lost, and someone else was enjoying every second of it. Because this isn't just messy. This is layered. This is emotional. This is personal. And it's unfolding in real time. So buckle up. Because what I'm about to break down next is going to change how you see this entire situation. And trust me, by the time we're done, you're going to be asking one question you can't ignore. Did she really walk away? Or did she have no idea what she was losing? The moment that Oscar was announced, everything changed. And I don't just mean for Michael B. Jordan. I mean for everybody connected to him, past, present, and especially the people who walked away. Because while the world was on its feet, clapping, celebrating, watching history unfold in real time, something else was happening behind the scenes that nobody was ready for. Phones were lighting up, group chats were exploding, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise, one name kept coming up over and over again, Lori Harvey. Not because she said anything, not because she posted anything, but because everybody else did. And it started subtly. A tweet here, a comment there. Imagine leaving him before this. She really fumbled. He leveled up, without her. At first, it looked like regular internet chatter, the usual post-breakup comparisons, the kind of noise celebrities deal with all the time. But then it escalated. Fast. Because suddenly, clips from their relationship started resurfacing. Moments where Michael B. Jordan was clearly invested. Interviews where he talked about love differently. Body language that, in hindsight, felt serious. Too serious for something that didn't last. And the narrative flipped. Completely. Because now people weren't asking what happened between them. They were asking, how did she walk away from that? And just as that question started gaining traction, that's when Future re-entered the picture. Not loudly, Not directly, but in a way that only he knows how to do. Because if you've been paying attention, you know his pattern. He doesn't need to say names. He doesn't need to address things head on. He lets the music speak. He lets the timing speak. And most importantly, he lets the internet do the rest. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because within hours of the Oscar win, people started digging up old lyrics. Not just any lyrics. Specific ones. Lines that suddenly hit different in the context of everything happening now. Lines that referenced regret, control, walking away. And the infamous energy of you thought you had options. And fans? They didn't hesitate. They connected it straight back to Laurie Harvey. Then came the reposts, old videos of Future and Laurie together, moments that once looked like luxury and romance, now being reframed as chaos, as temporary, as part of a pattern people are only now claiming to understand. And here's the part that turned everything from messy to explosive, because an alleged insider, someone claiming to be close to Future's circle, dropped a statement that started spreading like wildfire. They said, and I quote, "He's been waiting for this moment." Now pause, let that sink in. Because if that's even remotely true, then this isn't random. This isn't coincidence. This is timing. Strategic timing. Because think about it. The moment the entire world is praising Michael B. Jordan, the moment his value skyrockets in the public eye, the moment people start questioning past decisions, that's when Future steps back into the conversation. And suddenly, it feels intentional. Now let's talk about the social media meltdown, because there's no other way to describe it. Twitter turned into a battlefield. One side defending Laurie, saying she made the right choice for herself, saying timing matters, saying not every relationship is meant to last. But the other side, they were ruthless. They weren't just criticizing, they were dragging, posting comparisons, posting timelines, even calculating how quickly Michael's career accelerated after the breakup. And then came the most brutal narrative of all. She built him up just for someone else to benefit. Now, whether that's true or not, doesn't matter. Because once that idea hit the internet, it spread, and fast, and right in the middle of all this chaos, something else surfaced. Alleged messages. Now again, unconfirmed, but detailed enough to make people stop scrolling and actually read. Screenshots claiming that Laurie had been trying to reach out, that there were attempts to reconnect, that calls had been made and ignored. And suddenly, everything shifted again, because now the story wasn't just about her leaving. It became about what happened after she left, and whether she regretted it. Now here's where Future's role gets even more intense, because while he hasn't dropped a direct statement, there have been moves, subtle, calculated. A story post here, a lyric reference there, even a clip of him laughing in a setting that, according to fans, felt too perfectly timed to be random. And people noticed. They always do, because when someone like Future moves like that, it doesn't feel accidental. It feels like commentary, without words. And that's what made this whole situation feel heavier, because it wasn't just one man winning. It was another man reacting, without reacting. And the contrast, that's what kept fueling the fire. Now let's talk about Laurie again, because through all of this, she's been quiet, no response, no denial, no attempt to control the narrative. And that silence? It's being interpreted in 100 different ways. Some say she's unbothered, others say she's overwhelmed, and then there are those who believe she's watching everything unfold in real time, with no way to stop it. And if that's the case, then this isn't just public pressure, this is personal. Because imagine watching your past relationship, your decisions, your private life, get dissected by millions of people, while someone else sits back and indirectly adds fuel to the fire. That's not just messy, that's emotional warfare. And we're not even at the worst part yet. Because what dropped later that night, what people are just now starting to talk about, What one source claims is the real reason Future is moving like this. That's the part that changes everything. Because if that next piece is true, then this isn't just about Laurie. And it's not just about Michael. It's about something that happened behind the scenes. Something that never made headlines. Something that explains why Future isn't just watching this moment. He's enjoying it. And trust me, when that detail comes out, this entire story is going to flip upside down. And just when people thought the situation couldn't get any more chaotic, it spiraled into something nobody saw coming. Because late into the night, when the Oscar celebrations were still echoing across Hollywood, when Michael B. Jordan was being praised in every headline imaginable, something surfaced that completely shifted the tone. Not a tweet, not a post, a recording, short, grainy, and allegedly pulled from a private conversation that was never meant to leave the room. Now, before anyone jumps, nothing has been officially confirmed. But the way this clip spread, the way it hit, people treated it like truth. Because in that recording there's a male voice, calm, almost amused, and a second voice in the background reacting. And the line that shook everything, she thought she had more time. That was it. No names. No context. But the internet didn't need either. Within minutes, people tied it back to Laurie Harvey. And then, inevitably, back to Future. Because now the narrative wasn't just messy, it was cruel. It started feeling like this wasn't just coincidence. Like this wasn't just timing. Like this was someone watching everything unfold and quietly adding pressure at the exact right moments. Now here's where things get even more uncomfortable, because as that audio circulated, more alleged messages started popping up. Different sources, different screenshots, but all telling the same story, that Laurie had been trying to reach out before the Oscar night, that there were calls, texts, even one alleged message that read, "I just want to talk, that's it." And the response? Nothing. Complete silence. Now pause. Because if that's even partially true, then this entire situation changes. Because suddenly, this isn't just about someone fumbling. This is about someone trying to reconnect and being completely shut out. And while all of this is happening behind the scenes, the public narrative is still getting louder. Because Future, he doesn't stop. Still no direct statements, still no names. But the energy? It's unmistakable. A repost of an old clip, a snippet of a track, a line about levels and timing that fans immediately decoded. And the comments? Absolute chaos. People tagging Laurie Harvey, posting broken heart emojis, laughing, debating, arguing, turning something deeply personal into a full-blown public spectacle. And then came the celebrity reactions. Because once other names start getting involved, that's when things escalate beyond control. One artist posted, "Success changes everything, including who regrets what." Another dropped, "Some people don't lose you. They lose access to what you become." No names, but the timing? Too perfect. And now the fire is spreading beyond just the three of them. Because this isn't just about relationships anymore. This is about status, perception, value, who leveled up, who stayed the same, and who the internet decides won. And here's the part that makes it even more intense. Because while Michael B. Jordan is at the peak of his career, literally untouchable in this moment, he's also completely silent. No reaction to the drama, no acknowledgement of the noise, no engagement with any of it. And that silence, it's powerful. Because it makes everything else look louder, messier, more chaotic, while he remains elevated, focused, unbothered. And that contrast, that's what's driving people insane. Because you've got one person winning publicly, one person being dragged publicly, and one person, Future, who seems to be enjoying the chaos without ever stepping fully into it. Now here's where things take a darker turn. Because according to one insider, again, alleged but gaining traction, there was a private interaction that happened days before the Oscars. A moment where paths crossed. Brief, tense, uncomfortable. No cameras, no witnesses willing to speak openly, but enough for rumors to start. And the claim? That something was said during that interaction that left unresolved tension. Something that didn't sit right. Something that lingered. Now combine that with everything happening now. And suddenly, and this doesn't feel like random internet drama, it feels like something that's been building, waiting, for the right moment to explode. And that moment might have been the Oscar win. Because think about it. There is no bigger spotlight, no louder stage, no more public validation than that. So if someone wanted to send a message, to remind people of the past, to shift attention, even slightly, that's the moment you do it. And that's exactly what this feels like. Now here's the twist nobody expected, because while all of this is happening, while the internet is dragging, defending, debating, while Future's energy keeps fueling speculation, a new rumor surfaced late that night. Quiet, almost buried under everything else, but powerful enough to change everything. That Lori Harvey wasn't the only one trying to reach out. That there was another attempt, another message, from someone else connected to this story. And that message was answered. Now nobody knows what was said, nobody knows who initiated it. But the fact that one line of communication was opened while another remained completely shut down, that's what has people questioning everything, because it suggests choices, selective responses, decisions being made behind the scenes that we're only seeing pieces of. And if that's true, then this situation isn't just emotional, it's strategic. And we're only seeing the surface. Because what's coming next? What insiders are hinting at, what one source described as the real turning point, hasn't even dropped yet. And when it does, it's not just going to add to the story, it's going to flip the entire narrative on its head. Because if that next leak is real, then Future isn't just clowning. He's reacting to something we haven't seen yet. And once that comes out, nobody in this story is walking away clean. And just when the entire internet thought the chaos had already peaked, it detonated into something far more dangerous, far more personal, and way more calculated than anyone was prepared for. Because what dropped next didn't feel like gossip anymore. It felt like exposure. It started with a private group chat leak, allegedly pulled from someone close to the situation, and within seconds, it was everywhere. Blogs, fan pages, anonymous accounts, all pushing the same narrative at once like someone hit a switch. And inside that leak, a message that sent chills through the entire conversation. She knew exactly what she was walking away from. No emojis, no context, just that one sentence. And somehow, it hit harder than everything before it. Because now people weren't just speculating, they were choosing sides. And the divide, instant. On one side, you had people defending Lori, saying timing, age, growth, all of it mattered. On the other side, you had people saying she miscalculated badly. And then came the second leak, because one message wasn't enough. Not for a story this explosive. This time, it wasn't text. It was a screenshot of what looked like a missed call log. Repeated attempts. Same number. Late hours. And what made it worse? The timestamp. Right before the Oscars. Right before the biggest night of his life. Now pause and really think about that. Because if those calls are real, that means everything we're seeing now didn't start after the win. It was already happening. Already building. Already unraveling behind the scenes. And that changes everything. Because now this isn't just a reaction to success. This is a collision between past decisions and present consequences, happening in real time, in front of millions. And while all of this is exploding online, Future's presence in this situation becomes even louder without him saying a single direct word, because then he posts again. Not a rant, not a diss, just a clip. A short, almost casual video of him in the studio, laughing, and then pausing the music at one very specific line. Some choices cost more later. That's it. He lets it play, lets it sit, lets the internet do the rest. And they did. Within minutes, people clipped it, reposted it, slowed it down, analysed his facial expression like it was evidence in a courtroom. Was he talking about her? Was this about the Oscar? Was this about the past? Or was this something deeper? Because now people aren't just reacting, they're connecting dots. And the more dots they connect, the messier it gets, because suddenly, old interviews start resurfacing. Clips of Laurie talking about knowing her worth, about walking away when something no longer serves her, about being the prize. And now those same clips, they're being flipped, twisted, thrown back into the conversation with captions like, "Did she walk away too soon? Was he the prize all along? Or did she see something we didn't?" And just like that, the narrative fractures again. Because not everyone is laughing anymore. Some people are asking uncomfortable questions. Because success doesn't rewrite history. It just changes how people interpret it. And that's where this situation becomes unpredictable. Because while the internet is busy deciding who won, there are still things we don't know. Still conversations that haven't been exposed. Still emotions that haven't been publicly expressed. And then, it happens. The moment nobody expected. Because a source, again, unconfirmed but spreading fast, claims there was a private celebration after the Oscars where multiple industry figures were present. A closed room. No phones. No cameras. And according to that source, a name came up. Not casually. Not jokingly. Seriously. And the reaction was silence. Not awkward silence, not confused silence, heavy silence. The kind of silence that says everything without saying anything. And that's what people can't stop talking about now. Because silence, in a moment like that, means there's more beneath the surface. And if that's true, then this story isn't just playing out online. It's unfolding in rooms we'll never see, in conversations we'll never hear, in decisions that are already shaping what happens next. And speaking of what happens next, here's the part that's making insiders nervous. Because there are whispers, quiet but persistent, that another piece of this story is about to drop. Not a post, not a lyric, not a vague caption. Something bigger, something more direct, something that could confirm or completely destroy everything people think they know right now. And if that happens, if real receipts come out, then all the speculation, all the debates, all the jokes and reactions, they won't matter anymore. Because facts change the tone. Facts change the narrative. Facts turn entertainment into something much more serious. And right now, it feels like we're standing right on the edge of that shift. Because think about how fast everything has escalated. From an Oscar win, to online jokes, to leaks, to alleged recordings, to industry whispers. That's not random. That's momentum. And momentum like this doesn't just stop. It builds, it explodes, and it leaves damage behind. So now the real question isn't who's winning. It's who's ready for what comes next. Because if this next wave hits the way people are predicting, then nobody involved is walking away untouched. Not the one who stayed silent, not the one being dragged, not even the one fueling the fire from the sidelines. Because once the truth, whatever version of it exists, finally surfaces, there's no controlling the narrative anymore. There's no spinning it, no redirecting it, no hiding from it. And if that moment is coming, if those receipts are real, if those whispers turn into confirmation, then everything we've seen so far was just the beginning. And if you made it this far, then you already know this isn't just another celebrity story you scroll past and forget. This is one of those moments, the kind that keeps evolving while you're watching it, the kind where every hour brings a new twist, a new leak, a new reaction that flips everything you thought you understood. Because let's be real, what we just broke down, that's only what's surfaced so far, not what's hidden, Not what's still being whispered behind closed doors. Not what could drop tomorrow and completely rewrite this entire situation. So if you think this ends here, it doesn't. It never does with stories like this, and trust me, the next update, it's going to hit harder. Way harder. So right now, I need you to do 3 things before you even think about leaving this video. Hit that like button so this story keeps spreading, because the more people see this, the faster the real truth comes out. Drop your honest opinion in the comments, no filters, because I want to know exactly where you stand on this. Who's really in the wrong here? Who's playing it smart? And who's about to get exposed next? And most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications immediately. Because when the next piece of this story drops, and it will, you do not want to be the last one finding out. You don't want to hear about it late. You don't want to catch up after everyone else already knows. You want to be ahead of it, right here. We're locked in, because this situation, it's not cooling down, it's heating up, and the next move might change everything.